Bienvenidos mis amiguitos. Welcome to this telenovela, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. I am your humble tour guide. Leave your shoes at the door and come inside. Mi casa es su casa.
Dame de tu vida y de tu tiempo. Suficientes para ver dentro de tus ojos el momento que me obligue.
Welcome to my humble abode. This stunning villa comes with this sexy lady included, and this señorita makes a mean margarita. This 3-bedroom villa comes with a pool and a pool boy called Miguel, in case guests want their glass rimmed with salt. Comprende? The 2-story villa has a roof for open-air siestas and 3 full-size bedrooms for those freaky fiestas.
Mexico is the largest Spanish-speaking country in the world and home to everyone named Jose, including Mourinho, who is an honorary Mexican. In 1527, Francisco de Montejo Sr. opened the family conquistador business, and in 1532 he passed it on to his son Francisco Jr., who took control of the Yucatan and Chichen Itza. But before these tapas-eating pendejos invaded and converted the locals to Catholics at the point of a musket, the great Mayan civilization dominated this region. Chichen Itza was for a time the capital and Mecca of the sprawling Mayan empire. The step pyramid dominates the center of the plaza. This is the temple of Kukulkan, the feather serpent god and prominent figure in Mayan mythology and Marvel movies. If you need black people beaten up, you pray at this altar. Ask the Wakandans. Kukulkan represents heaven with his feathers and earth with the snake. In the movie Apocalypto, small villages were raided and the people brought to temples like this and asked which team they supported. And if you didn't say Hala Guadalajara, you would be sacrificed. In times of drought, sacrifices were made here to the rain god Chak, another important god in Mayan mythology, and the god who guided the Talocan priests in Wakanda forever to the vibranium plant in the underwater cavern. At the height of this civilization, Chichen Itza was a hub for science and astronomy, with a sprinkle of human sacrifice to add a bit of flavor to this metropolitan melting pot. Some scholars and historians believe that Mayan mathematics had solved pi to the last digit. The Mayans were also exceptional astronomers, but while their scholars stared at the stars and worried if Mars was in retrograde, or if their colonizers were Pisces or Scorpios, the conquistadores put the pie into pillage and took control of this enclave in the name of the king. This is the Great Ball Court, the largest in Mesoamerica, and will host several games in the upcoming World Cup. The ball game was played with heads and shoulders and knees and toes. Hands and feet were not allowed. For a handball, you might earn a red card or become a sacrifice, depending on VAR, and Everton will be deducted 10 points. The losing team was often sacrificed, which FIFA has added to the rules for upcoming World Cup games played in Mexico. Not too far from Chichen Itza es un pueblo mágico called Valladolid. Pueblo mágico translates to magic town and means these smaller towns preserved for their authentic displays of heritage and culture. Valladolid is one such place with an abundance of authentic and archaic colonial architecture, with Grand Cathedral, Iglesia de San Servazio staring out over the one-story city, counting confessions and summoning souls to its pews. Life is slow. The streets and bars overflow with old charm, cowboy hats and grizzled metal work. When Francisco de Montejo captured the Yucatan, he named this town after his birthplace of the same name in Spain. Our next location is affectionately called Bonny Blue. A little way outside Valladolid is the Suitun Cenote. Before entering, they make you wash your pijas and panochas. Suitun means a stone center, and as you descend into this cavern, the cold air rushes up to greet you. This cavern used to be a secret place, until Naki discovered it in Wakanda forever. Since then, tourists pour into the cavern, hoping to catch sight of Namor or Atuma and find their way into Talocan. On a different day, Kukulkan sat here with Princess Shuri and asked her to join him. The crystal waters run cold in the cavern basin, and the ceiling is beautiful and menacing, with its spears threatening to impale the swimmers. These waters are old and filled with the remains of warriors long forgotten. The waters are not turbulent. They are fed slow and steady by underwater lakes and slow streams. At night, when the water is untroubled, it glows a shimmering blue, and when it catches the moonlight, It is magical. In the dead of night, when the cavern is quiet, just above the silence you can hear it, a temptation upon the wind, the soft echoes racing from ceiling to surface. It is the siren's song. It is the nymphs of Talocan, teasing you to the depths. Soitun has a runway, which ends in a circular platform, and just above it, a sunroof. In summer, if you time it right and position yourself just beneath the hole, you can get the perfect golden shower. While not as grand as Chichen Itza, the Tulum ruins boast a better view. The Mayan developers chose the beachfront for this city. After the mandatory cavity search at the entrance, this golf cart drops you off at the bottom of the hike to the city. Tulum ruins may have been called Zama and was a fortified city that reached its height between the 13th and 15th centuries before being abandoned in the 16th. Tulum means wall, fence, or trench in Yucatan Maya and describes the walls to the city. The fortifications face inland, while a steep 12-foot drop into the Caribbean Sea from the cliffs protects the city from attacks from the rear, because this would be no bueno. The city is well preserved and is perched perfectly on the edge of these cliffs in Quintana Roo. Welcome to this stunning beachfront property. It's a classic pre-Columbian with a beautifully dated finish. The property is open plan and fully powered by wind and solar. The property has a great location with great connections to the rest of the Caribbean. Canoes depart from the cliffs every hour on the hour. The property has a sauna, rustic outdoor showers and outhouses. Sadly, the property has no pool, but if you wish, you can leap from the cliffs into the sea. The property is open air with natural air conditioning and ceiling-to-floor windows that almost seem invisible. Beyond these windows, the turquoise shallows of the Caribbean Sea ebb and flow. The sunsets are to die for. We have had an infestation problem in the past, conquistadores of the coast, but you should be fine as long as they don't come ashore. Imagine this wonder at its height, its walls stilled against wind and wave, perched only a breath away from the plunge. El Castillo stands proud, a sentry that never sleeps, scanning the vastness of the horizon and the heaven hung above it. As the sun sets and the sea burns, the beacon is lit in El Castillo, guiding the wayfinders through the gaps in the reef. For centuries now forgotten, this turquoise carpet floated their canoes, sons fishing where their fathers did. There would be little warning for what came next. El Castillo saw them first, erupting from the horizon, large canoes that captured the wind and abandoned their oars. A crowd would gather on the cliffs, the multitude come to see these strange men. They would come bearing gifts, with their greed in disguise. They had come in the name of the king, to claim in the name of the crown. What hospitality we showed these wolves, women and wine, and whatever else they wanted. Eventually their deities and diseases took root, decimating these people. Eventually this city would grow silent, their songs no longer worrying the waves. Their presence was as a poison among the people. Fathers worshipped Chac and Kukulkan, and their sons adopted Christ. Mothers cradled their cubs and sang to them in Yucatec, but more and more this was forgotten in place of this foreign tongue. Some say these people were slaughtered to the last, a genocide that left no witnesses and no trace except for this stock and stone. The beacon is idle, no longer lit, and the spirits of its keepers wander these ruins in torment. No matter how they prayed to the storm god Chac to smite these invaders and sink their vessels, there would be no answer. They came more and more like waves to these shores. Perhaps, though, these people had a different story. Kukulkan would see his people subjugated and would show mercy, and El Señor Sin Amor would invite them to the safety of Talocan, the underwater city. For a while they would be safe within the depths. These conquistadores could not yet walk beneath the waves, but they will one day worm their way into this world, come now to corrupt, to break what they have built, and they must trust in their gods to deliver them from these devils. In everything there should be balance. Every Jose must have a Juanita, and after a bit of history we go in search of a hangover. The buggy takes passengers along the nature reserve and you can disembark at any of the various beach clubs along the route. Namora is swinging innocently, unaware that after these margaritas we would both feel like the world is all swing song, stumbling across the sand. These margaritas were so potent, after the first sip my liver and lungs were doing the Macarena, but the burn was so good. As our time in Tulum was winding down, we lay on sunbeds sipping sweet poison, watching the boats moored in the shallows bobbing as the waves rolled in. We are at this stage drunk, drowsy, and dreaming in equal parts. It's tequila time in paradise. Tequila is like a time machine and it slows everything down, and with every gulp of margarita, the moment is like magic. Tulum has a way to delay even tomorrow. The present is so prime, mañana es no importa. Mexico has long been a melting pot, and similar to a margarita, a mixture of unlikely ingredients. Some Maya here, a heavy dose of European there, all wrapped up in a beautiful burrito. And the result, a country recognized globally for their culture, their cuisine, and their own category on the hub. This is the country of Coco, Canelo, Guillermo del Toro, Zorro, and El Chapo. So the next time you hear puta madre or pendejo, watch Coco or Apocalipto, you are experiencing a part of these people. The largest pyramid in the world still stands in this realm, and to look upon its ruins would give but a small glimpse of their greatness. Mexico has exceeded all expectation and imagination, and we will look back upon this passport page with fondness. Till the next tour, salud and buen viajes mis viajeros. Adiós y hasta la vista.